What is up, everybody? I hope you had a fine evening last night. I hope you're having an even better day today. And right now, I am going to go over the debates from yesterday and go over why I believe Donald Trump crushed Joe Biden in the first debate. First things first, Chris Wallace is probably the most biased moderator I've ever seen in my life. What was that? And all the questions, everything he asked Biden was just a straightforward, real question. And then when he would go to Trump and be like, well, it's been proven that you're the devil. What do you have to say about that? They were all attack pieces. He was acting like the News Corps for every time there's a press conference who just hit him with negative stuff and keep the president on the defense. And people are like, well, he was defensive in the beginning and was, quote, interrupting at times. Well, it wasn't so much interrupting Biden Wallace as refuting. This is a debate, right? So every time Biden just spews garbage the whole time and Trump jumped on him, which is a debate. I thought the debate is supposed to go back and forth. They debate a topic, not you talk now. Okay, now you talk. What is this, kindergarten? I want to hear two people debate a topic. It's in the title, presidential debate. But there was none of that. President Trump had to debate Wallace and Biden the whole time. And they used their favorite tactic. Anytime President Trump got in a row, Chris Wallace, well, okay, cut him off. Okay, well, that's time. Or you can't talk anymore, blah, blah, blah. Anytime Biden said something, they let him talk. And then when President Trump would go to answer him, Wallace would jump in right away and flat tire. No, don't cut it off. You can't do that. You can't answer. Which, if you notice, almost every question was asked to Trump first and Biden second. So Trump never got a chance to respond to anything. And this was by design. In 2016, one of the best things is that every time Hillary Clinton lied or said something ridiculous, Trump immediately corrected her because this guy actually knows his facts and actually knows what he's talking about. He doesn't talk just empty rhetoric like all these other politicians. And it was clear from the start that Chris Wallace had his marching orders that anytime Trump went to give the real take on something, to cut him off and flat tire him, which made it look bad. It worked a little bit in the beginning, but definitely did not as this went on. Now, the next thing I want to look at is what's hiding up Joe Biden's sleeve. Now, this little contraption that you see here, spotted several times in the debate. Now, I've seen a few different theories. Curious to see what you guys think in the comments. One theory I saw was people were pointing to needleless connectors. This can be used to administer drugs, and people were saying that they were wondering if Joe's going to need freaking amphetamines for 90 minutes. He actually asked before the debates for a break every 30 minutes, which is just, how are you running to be the leader of the free world and you need 30-minute interval breaks? You're going to be in a negotiation with a world leader, but like, guys, could I get a break, please? I don't think it works that way. So I think the theory was there that he was getting pumped up with some sort of amphetamine or something, which definitely could be, but personally, I think it looked like a little antenna of sorts, which would mean that he was, in fact, having someone give him the answers, which is what everyone knows that he does from time to time. You can see this picture right here. We see that in his ear, flesh-colored insert there, so no one could see. So it's not like he hasn't done this before, which makes me theorize that this was a little mini antenna feeding him his notes in between questions.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities?
So I want to pause this for 1 second because, first of all, the second he says, are you willing to denounce them, Trump says, sure. So he did denounce them, and he does it again right after this, which is weird because I see all these drama queen losers all over Twitter. He didn't denounce white supremacism. Oh, my God. It's just like, oh, my God, it's unbelievable. It's so ridiculous in general because, first of all, what are you saying? Anyone who opposes these violent racist looters is a white supremacist? That's insane. He says, though, like in Kenosha, so Kyle Rittenhouse, who was literally there just to protect the business, who was attacked 3 times and defended himself 3 times, is now automatically a white supremacist because of the color of his skin? I didn't hear him screaming white power or anything. In fact, I've never in my entire life heard someone scream white power. There's been no violent white riots, nothing. All I see is black riots for the last 5 years. In fact, I have plenty of clips screaming black power, he's white, get him. Here's one right here.
Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power!
That was from 4 or 5 years ago, one of their many riots, because you can't keep track. They've been going steadily since the news figured out that they could provoke this and use it as a weapon. And here's a rally in D.C. just the other day, like a freaking month ago, with Al Sharpton. And here's a lawyer screaming Black Power.
Let us hear from Attorney Lee Merrick.
Black Power! I said Black Power! Black Power! Look, we cannot be afraid to stage Black Power. You cannot say that Black Lives Matter if you don't believe in Black Power. Let me tell you something. Lincoln didn't free those slaves. We freed the slaves. We free ourselves when we fight for ourselves. And we fight for ourselves through Black Power. Say it with me. Black Power! Black Power!
Actually, Lincoln was elected solely to free the slaves. The Republican Party was started by anti-slavery abolitionists, with that being their main goal in mind. However, you're right, Abraham Lincoln alone did not free the slaves. About 2 million, mostly white people, fought to free the slaves, and 365,000 of them gave their lives to help free the slaves. But that's all right. Screw them, right? But anyway, going back to nowadays, you have all these things going on. Violent black riots. And this is a small section of the black community, by the way. This doesn't speak for all African Americans. But nevertheless, there's a small percentage of them rioting and burning down cities and screaming Black Power everywhere you turn. And yet, I have never seen a single person ask Joe Biden or any of these people to denounce black supremacy, which in my lifetime is the only thing I've ever seen. I've never seen white supremacy. I don't know what the frig they're talking about. Yet they, every 3 months, ask Donald Trump, do you denounce white supremacy? There is no white supremacy. What's he to denounce? The Proud Boys? Proud Boys are white supremacists. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. First of all, there's people of all colors in the Proud Boys. Second of all, it was started as a joke for one of the interns. I don't know, it was like Anthony Cumia's or Gavin McGinnis's intern, who they used to make fun of because he was such a dork. And they started a, quote, guys club to learn how to be a dude. And then it caught on as like half a joke, but also as just a fraternal, hey, let's go get drunk and be cool and be guys sorts of things with all people of all races. But since they lean right wing, oh my God, they're white supremacists. It's so ridiculous. I really hope people are starting to see through this. But my God, President Trump has been denouncing white supremacism over and over and over again, because they ask him every 3 months, because all they have is this fake little fairy tale that they've gotten idiots, absolute idiots, to believe that exists, when I have never seen one person on the left, not one person on the left, denounce black supremacy. But anyway, here's President Trump denouncing white supremacy again, twice in a row now, followed by him not denouncing the Proud Boys because he's not stupid enough to believe that they're white supremacists.
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specifically
that,
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his FBI. FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
Chris Wallace just teaming up with Biden on Trump and just attack. And then anytime Trump starts saying anything and starts getting on a roll, oh, that's enough time, sir. This was a disgrace.
This is the guy who says that. Well, the fact that it's all true. And here's the deal.
He's talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they
the
want to rip
Biden
down
plan.
Go for a
buildings
minute, and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous,
is not
where
the case.
airplanes are out of
minute, sir.
business,
That's
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows, too.
Not
You know, that's
true.
not true either, right?
Not
this is
true.
this is a 100
Simply,
trillion.
look,
That's more money than
that
our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going to
the case.
All right, let me
It will destroy our
because I
country.
actually wait a minute, sir.
Trump ripping apart the New Deal. Oh, wait. I love how Biden says, oh, not true. Not true. He just says not true after everything. Literally every one of those things is in the Green New Deal. So what are you talking about?
The Green New Deal is $100 trillion,
That is
not
not
20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
The Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
You want to
All right,
rebuild every.
If you knew anything about-
wait.
if
Do you
you're gonna
support
build
the
re-
Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
blood.
lost the radical left.
I
Like,
sup-
God.
The Green New Deal is not your plan. Well, don't tell your website, Joe, because, well, first of all, your running mate helped work on it. But also, if you come right here, Biden believes the Green New Deal is a crucial framework for meeting the climate challenges we face. So, just another lie from Joe Biden.
But look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
What he's referring to is just some pure hearsay from Axios that claimed that Trump said he wanted to nuke a hurricane. It was Trump said right away, like, absolutely not, did not say that, to the point that freaking Snopes, of all people, even has this as unproven, right? If Snopes has something against Donald Trump listed as unproven, you might want to not go with that on the biggest stage in the world. Just saying.
If he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about-
statement
Gentlemen.
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the military
Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
Mr.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He
not
said
true.
it.
Stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that
Play
to the
it.
military.
Play it.
And two, I appointed Johnson to the academy. I just want you to know that. Just clap for that, you stupid bastards.
Boy, all he did was lie, while also distancing himself from the radical left. Like this point of the debate where he said that he's not opposed to Amy Coney Barrett. I'm sure his voter base loved that.
And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person.
So which is it, Joe? How do your voters even know what to vote for? I mean, literally 2 days before this, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris strongly opposed Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. But in the debates where he just spewed a remarkable amount of lies, he says he's not opposed to her. Now back to the Chris Wallace debacle, who interrupted President Trump 76 times, as opposed to only 15 times to Joe Biden, and who every question to Joe Biden was respectful and nice and was an actual question, but take note to how the questions towards Donald Trump were actually hit pieces and angry. And here's a great clip where Trump starts answering his question and he just cuts him off because he wasn't done with his nasty remarks. I mean, this is bad.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
comprehensive
Obamacare.
plan.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual
no,
mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like you
and
to,
we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your
ahead.
question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something, that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done, insulin, I give you an example, insulin, it was destroying families, destroying people. The cost, I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No,
let me
but
ask
this
you
is
about,
big.
This
is big stuff,
sir.
So once you start mentioning Big Pharma and trying to get lower drug prices for everyone, then it's, the guys, this is open debate, and cuts them off in 47 seconds. Funny how that works. And this next clip is especially great because it starts off with Biden trying to say that, everything Trump says is a lie, which is pretty rich, as we just went over. I mean, he's pretty much lied every time he's opened his mouth already in this debate. But what's even better is that towards the end of this clip, Trump gets Biden to admit that there is no Bernie Sanders manifesto and that he will not be going along with that.
Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
You graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
You picked
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Talk,
the wrong
Joe,
night
go.
at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Now, on top of admitting that he has no plans to do any of these radical policies that all his voters think they're voting for in November, he also did what politicians do best and just gave a whole bunch of non-answers.
Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unpresidential.
court.
We have
I'm not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure
47 years, you've done nothing. They understand.
All right.
He's right. We do understand. And Joe's right, too. Trump isn't very presidential because typically presidents do what Biden was just doing. They talk in circles. They don't give you clear answers, just a whole bunch of lip service and empty rhetoric, and they don't actually do anything. So maybe we don't want presidential anymore. Maybe we want President Trump who actually goes in and gets stuff done, as opposed to all these hollow politicians where all they have is just emotions. They just give emotional rhetoric. If they want you to be for something, they say, yeah, we're going to help X, Y, and Z. They don't tell you how. They barely tell you what they're going to do. They just talk in circles. And if they want you to hate something, they give you emotional rhetoric, and they try to tug at your heartstrings. Same hollow garbage over and over again.
200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people.
This is the most ironic, blatant lie of the whole debate in my mind. I mean, here we go. Here's from the Hill from February 1st, 2020. Biden slams Trump's response to the coronavirus epidemic. This is no time for fear-mongering. And the reason why he's accusing him of fear-mongering is because on January 31st, the Trump administration declared a public health emergency in response to the coronavirus outbreak, which had infected nearly 10,000 people worldwide at that point, which is really nothing. and only 6 cases of the coronavirus in the United States, okay? That's how fast the Trump administration responded to this. And if you see here, not only did the Trump administration declare it a health emergency with only 6 people in the United States, they also, January 31st, 2020, put a travel ban on people coming from China. Literally, how could you? There's never been a faster response in the history of a virus, ever. And then, again, he doubled down only a month later and called him a xenophobic fearmonger, as Donald Trump declared that he always treated it very seriously, which he did. But now for my personal favorite moment of the entire debate.
You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
Did Joe Biden
This is no time for sleeping in the basement.
just tell someone to get out of their bunker? The same guy who's been hiding in his basement for 5 months comes out once a week to do half a speech for 5 people that no one even watches? That is so awesome. And I'm sure he gained a lot of fringe voters with this statement.
I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, and I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
You mean like the working class people who got the tax cuts?
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years.
He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch down 18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
You've asked your question, let him answer.
Just released from the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs and the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance. Let's go down to page 5 here. Hunter Biden received a $3.5 million wire transfer from Eleanor Baturina, the wife of former mayor of Moscow. So I guess it is true, Joe Biden, whose literal response to every single thing Trump said was, "It's not true." But unlike Joe Biden, President Trump really stuck to his guns, and he did not turn his back on. I mean, Joe Biden distanced himself from every single platform he's running on. But throughout, Trump stayed true to his word and stood up for the things he believes in.
Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and, in many cases, radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right.
These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful protest?
President Trump,
No, it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
And right on cue, Joe Biden contradicts himself again, condemning the violence that they've allowed to go on and turn a blind eye to all freaking summer. So give me a break, Joe. Now you're going to say something?
We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what
in
they're
prevent-
talking about,
That's-
Chris. That's
well,
not what
that-
they're talking about.
that's
He's talking about
exactly-
defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law
Well, you-
support.
look,
He has no law enforcement
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look,
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
we don't have time to do
No,
anything.
think
so
about
listen,
it.
look,
Name
folks,
one law
folks,
enforcement group that came out and
I
supported
think, gentlemen,
you,
I think
Joe.
I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there
and
are any.
I want to get to another subject.
Chris Wallace to save the day again. I hope Biden at least took this guy out to dinner after this. But finally, this brings us to the best clip of the whole night, where Trump calls out any of them, even having a hint of nerve to talk about, quote, peaceful transition of power.
When I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition.
Wow. How is that for an absolute truth bomb? And also the reason why they are all shaking in their boots about this election. Look how much they're going through for an election. Has anyone ever seen this before? You think this is simply because they just don't like Trump? No way. They're going after him because of things like this. Seagram's heiress Claire Bronfman sentenced to more than 6 years for her role in NXlVM's sex cult. And boy, things like this have just been happening over and over and over since Trump has been in office. This is why they've gone so hard at him. This is why it's nothing but attack, attack, attack. And this is why he didn't even get close to a fair debate last night. But judging the debates on a whole, now that the smoke is cleared, I think it is evident that President Trump absolutely crushed Joe Biden. And yes, it seemed a little messy at times because every time Trump went to respond to Joe Biden, his knight in shining white armor, Chris Wallace, just jumped in and just stopped. So it sounded all choppy instead of just letting Trump get his point across, because I guess in a debate, you're not allowed to comment on anything your opponent says, which did make it seem chaotic at times. And I think that was by design. But when you really look at what happened, Trump stayed true to everything he believed in. He got his points across. He called out Joe every time he lied, which was every other time he opened his mouth. And what did Joe Biden do? While Trump delivered the same messages he's been delivering night after night, Biden told his base that he doesn't want to defund the police. He rejected Bernie Sanders' Medicaid for All program, and he rejected the Green New Deal. The three things that 90% of his voter base are voting for. Capped off by him getting a dose of his own medicine, with President Trump exposing to the world what we've been watching, document after document coming out, that the whole Russiagate and this whole thing was a complete setup. Just look what came out earlier that friggin' morning, where it was just declassified that in late July 2016, U.S. intelligence agencies obtained insight into the Russian intelligence analysis alleging that U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton was the one who approved the campaign plan to stir up a scandal against U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Putin and the Russians and the hacking of the DNC. So according to a handwritten note from Brennan, where he briefed President Obama and other senior national security officials on the intelligence, including the, quote, alleged approval of Hillary Clinton on July 26, 2016, of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. And this was forwarded to James Comey and Peter Strzok in September of 2016. That it was to be used as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private mail server. And not only did they use it, they kept it going to 2018. People still say Trump's in bed with Russia. Just released the morning of the debate. So confirmed, it was a scam from the beginning, and it's been a scam, just like how they tried to set up General Flynn right from day one, with Joe Biden himself being one of the people who requested an unmasking of General Flynn. And new text messages that just came out that proved that they knew it was a setup right from the beginning. But nevertheless, to this day, he is still in court and went and had a dismissal hearing in the morning of the debates where Judge Sullivan let the prosecutor Gleason just talk and talk and talk and talk. And then every time Sidney Powell, Flynn's attorney, started to talk, he just cut her off and did the same thing that Chris Wallace did to Trump. And that's how you know it's a planned tactic. Every time Sidney Powell got on a roll, he just interrupted her and started going on these long word salad tangents that meant nothing and double talk. And by the time he's done, you forget the first half of what she said. And now she's trying to scramble and say the second half, and it totally flat tires an argument. And that is a straight up tactic, which of course finished up for there not being a resolution and getting postponed for at least another week because you have to lay out a formal dismissal. I mean, you know, they're doing whatever they can to drag this out because they are scared crapless of General Flynn. But moves and counter moves, I'd say we still won the week in a major way with the huge boom from Clinton, a huge boom with Trump at the debates, and a huge boom with Claire Bronfman getting sentenced for just under 7 years. And I will leave you with these two clips from Sidney Powell's closing that lay out this entire situation perfectly. Where we go one, we go all.
You argue also that the court may not look, quote, in your words, behind the motives or into the reasoning of the executive, end quote. How then is the court to determine any motives? What's the extent of what the court can look at?
It can look at the face of the pleadings by the government, the at least 80 or more pages of documents. I think we're up to about 150 pages of new evidence now that shows that the investigation itself was the corruption, that it was part of the essential coup to take out President Trump. And the goal was to get Flynn first and then get Trump. That's evident from Mr. Barnett's 302, as well as the text messages and link messages of many of the agents. This court's own decision in Pitts requires it to be dismissed with prejudice. In closing, I would just say that Mr. Gleason continues to be lost down the rabbit hole on the other side of the looking glass, where nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't, and contrary-wise, what is, it wouldn't be. This is the most egregious injustice I have seen in my 30-plus years of practice, and the government, it's imperative that it remember it, that it rectify it, and that this court dismissed this case with prejudice in stanter.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. As many of you know, this page is 100% viewer funded, so if you've enjoyed what you've just seen, I ask you to please consider hitting the link in the description and becoming one of my Patreons. And to all my current Patreons and PayPal supporters, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It really does mean the world to me. So I look forward to bringing you guys a lot more videos, a lot more content on this channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.